ads and sales. A study of advertising and selling from the standpoint of the new principle of scientific management by Herbert Casson. Can the principles of efficiency be applied to sales? The principles of efficiency were first applied to war by Moltke. Result, the conquest of France in 7 weeks. Second, they were applied to manufacturing by Taylor, Emerson, and others. Result, lower costs, higher profits, higher wages, and nearly twice the output. Third, they were applied to the Ordnance Department of the US government. Result, the official approval of the government. See report by Brigadier General William Crozier, November 2, 1911. It is therefore not at all a visionary proposition to say that these principles can be applied to selling and advertising. At the present time, I am well aware this seems impossible, but the doing of impossibilities ought now to be recognized as a part of our American days of work. As an unusually bright professor recently said to one of his students who had declared that a certain work was impossible. "Of course it is impossible," he replied. "But if you and I don't watch out, some damn fool will come along and do it right before our eyes." Efficiency, in its new and definite meaning, is the doing of workers what inventors have already done with machinery. It is a new point of view in the business world. It is as new as the theory of evolution was in 1858, and it promises to be just as revolutionary in its results. It is not system, for the reason that the most useless and wasteful actions can be done in the most systematic way. There can easily be too much system, but there can never be too much efficiency. It is not expert accounting, for the reason that accounting deals only with records and not with method of work. Accounting carried too far means red tape and stagnation. It is not economy, for the reason that mere saving and penny hunting is often the most suicidal of all business policies. It is not energy, for the reason that energy misdirected is the most universal waste of industry. It is not slave driving, for the reason that it aims to make workers do more with less effort. It is not frenzied production, as most trade unionists foolishly believe. It is a sincere effort to apply to business those methods and principles that have proved so productive in the scientific world. What does the scientist do? He first studies his subject until he gets an exact knowledge of it. He analyzes it. He takes it to pieces. He makes a careful record of everything he discovers. He watches it under all sorts of conditions. He has no theory about it, otherwise he is no scientist. He comes to it with an open mind. He learns. Then, when he seems to have all the necessary facts, he builds them up into hypotheses. He does not call this hypothesis the truth. For if he discovers a new set of facts, he may have to change it. But it is true enough to depend upon. It is not a mere guess or fancy as most of our truth is. It is a solid foundation of facts. This scientific method has been the secret of modern progress. It has created a new species of civilization. It first revolutionized botany, geology, astronomy, chemistry, physics, etc. Then it was applied to living things, and it revolutionized biology, geology, and other theories, and our theories of the human race. Since 1860, it has been applied to almost every sort of manufacturing. It created the laboratory and the drafting room. Pasteur applied it to the prevention of disease. Bourbon applied it to the soil. Edison applied it to electrical appliances. One by one, almost every activity of man is being analyzed and organized and uplifted into a science. We know today that if we paper a wall with white paper, we get 80% of efficiency in the reflection of light from the paper. If we use yellow paper, we get 60%. If we use emerald green, we get 20%. If we use dark brown, we get only 10%. There is no longer any guess about the efficiency of wallpaper. We know the facts. As to the efficiency of our own bodies, we know that 15 human organs show signs of improvement, 17 show signs of decay, and more than 100 are of no present use to us. Upon this fact basis, the greatest educators of today are now building up a new science of education, a new method of scientific bodybuilding and brain building. This method, when it is completely worked out, will give us for the first time a system of real and efficient education. Even philosophy, that region of guesses and dreams, is being taken in hand by the pioneers of efficiency. William Ostwald, the foremost chemist in his line in Germany, has recently written a book on natural philosophy to show that philosophy, as well as chemistry, can have a foundation of facts. And now, the next great step in the journal swing from metaphysics to science is to apply the principles of efficiency to the selling and advertising of goods. What has worked so well in the acquisition of knowledge and in the production of commodities may work just as well in the distribution of those commodities. As yet, the efficiency of selling goods has not been worked out. Most salesmen believe it cannot be done. They claim that there are too many variables in the problem. Perhaps there are, but nobody knows until the experiment has been thoroughly tried. In every case, the victories of efficiency have been won in spite of the most stubborn opposition from the men who were being helped. And one fact is sure, that the first advertisers and sales managers who try out efficiency and succeed will find themselves in a gold mine. They will have found a better way to enter a market that handles, in an average year, $30,000 million worth of goods. Just as an efficient foreman of a factory saves his belts, stops air leaks, prevents bearings from running hot, or shaftings from being out of line, or poor patterns from being used, so an efficient sales manager may discover cheaper methods of publicity and a more effective way of presenting his goods. Just as Gilbreth has shown that bricks may be laid with 5 motions per brick instead of 18, just as Taylor has shown that one laborer can handle 47 tons of pig iron in a day instead of 13, just as Emerson has shown that a locomotive plant may be geared up to build 5 locomotives in a week instead of 3, so some sales manager will probably find before the world is many months older that he can double the efficiency of his salesmen and make every 60 cents worth of advertising do the work of $1. According to Taylor, the principles of efficiency are 1. Science, not rule of thumb. 2. Harmony, not discord. 3. Cooperation, not competition. 4. Maximum output, not restricted output. 5th, the development of each man to his greatest efficiency and prosperity. Emerson is more specific and gives 12 principles as follows. 1. Ideals. 2. Common sense. 3. Competent counsel. 4. Discipline. 5. Fair deal. 6. Records. 7. Planning. 8. Standards. 9. Standard conditions. 10. Standard operations. 11. Written instructions. 12. Rewards. These principles, like the notes of a piano, may be used in many various combinations. Some might not be of any value in a sales campaign. No salesman, for instance, is likely to try to restrict his output as a factory worker does. But when they are focused as a whole upon a sales problem, they are certain to put that problem in a new and vivid light. To say that the public is an uncertain quantity and cannot be measured is absurd. The insurance actuary measures the public. He knows that 8 out of every 100 will die an accidental death. He knows that there will be about 8,000 suicides this year and an equal number of murders. He knows how many will die of lung troubles and how many of heart disease. He knows the length of the average life. And his knowledge is so accurate that hundreds of millions of dollars are staked upon his calculations. The experts of the telephone companies measure the public. They construct maps and prepare what are called fundamental plans, showing the present telephone needs of a city and the changes that are likely to take place in the next 20 years. It is better, says J.J. Carty, our greatest telephone engineer, to study the future than to guess at it. Even Wall Street, with all its trickeries and hysterics, is governed by larger laws than it understands. Any chart of Wall Street's operation shows that there are long swings up and long swings down. The nation as a whole has its moods of cheerfulness or depression, and the brokers and the gamblers in the stock exchange are no more than the mercury in the national thermometer. They do not represent our wealth as they often imagine. They represent our frame of mind. Railways and steamship companies measure the public. They know how many are likely to travel, they know how many will go first class and how many trunks they are likely to have. Any experienced passenger agent can astonish you by his accurate knowledge of the public's traveling propensities. Newspapers measure the public best of all, perhaps. The circulation manager of a daily paper will tell you that the best help to circulation is a presidential election. The day after is the big day. Next comes a prize fight between heavyweights, and third comes a murder mystery or a local disaster. The relation between a good headline and sales is well known by all efficient editors. The magazines too measure the public. Their very life depends upon these measurements. A magazine is not sustained by local interest as a newspaper is. A magazine is wholly a creature of public sentiment. It lives just as long as it pleases a certain large number of people and no longer. It rises or falls every month in proportion to the timelines of its articles. Several years ago, I made an special test of this in Munzie's magazine. The Jews of Russia at the time were being very cruelly persecuted, and a great deal of sympathy was being aroused in all parts of the United States. To catch this tide at the flood, I rushed out an article on the Jews in America, telling the big facts about that race, illustrated by 25 photographs. The result, as might have been easily predicted, was a jump in circulation of 40,000 copies. Had this article been delayed for a year, it might not have created any unusual interest. So, as we have seen, it is possible to measure the public. Immense businesses are based upon the fact that the activities of the nation as a whole can be foreseen. Just as there are today actuaries who predict the public health, so there may be actuaries who will predict public opinion in its relation to the sales of goods. From the point of view of efficiency, no sales manager is properly equipped unless he has the fundamental plans of the telephone companies, the charts of Wall Street, the statistics of travel, the record of real estate movements, the latest farm report, the bank statement of every large city, and the annual reports of as many corporations as possible. If he is ignorant of the movements outside of his own trade, how can he know when to advertise or when to launch a new sales campaign? The sales manager of the future will be much more than a gang boss. He will be a man of the most comprehensive mind. He will probably be a great citizen as well as a great salesman. He will have the instincts of the statesman, not the peddler. He will be the man in the tower watching national tendencies and studying every new sign of the times. And most of all, he will be quick to notice and to appropriate to his own use every method that is proving successful in other lines of work. End of chapter 1.